right, I do believe we are live. All right, shall I get started?
Yeah.
All right. This is the December General Assembly for the for Independent Guåhan. Inanhu si Maikaluhan Bavakwa. I am the co-chair for Independent Guåhan, and I will be sort of opening the event tonight, and then I will hand it off to one of our Kulu members, Dr. Tiara Naputi, who will be taking over from there. But this is our last General Assembly for 2021. It has been an interesting pandemic journey. We used to have these General Assemblies in person at the Chamorro Village main pavilion. Since March of last year, we've been having them online on Facebook. And even though and we look forward to in 2022, if things return to normal, we can start to meet in person again. We have a lot of projects planned for once the pandemic restrictions end, for getting back out into the community. But until then, we are happy to be engaging with you virtually and online. All right, let's get started. And so, as with every General Assembly, we begin by saying the Inafresi. Gininimastakilu gihinasoku, imastakalum gi corazonhu, zanimas figu na ninasenyahu, hu ofrecen maisadzo, para bai hu protege, zan hu defendi, I hinengi, I cultura, I lenguaje, I airi, I hanum, zan I Tano Chamorro. Ni renchoku derechu ginin azu ustata, esti hu afitma, gihilu I Biblia, zan I banderahu, I banderan Guåhan. This is our agenda for this December General Assembly. We've done the Inafresi, Sidzus Masi, and what we will find that sort of the spirit of the Inafresi is very relevant for the discussion today, as we talk about reviving our relationship to the resources of the land, reviving our relationship to the food that we eat, and so on. And so after I'm done talking, Dr. Naputi will be taking us into updates from Independent Guåhan. We will be honoring Dr. Marilyn Salas as Maga'taotao. Maga'taotao, of course, is our program in which we honor people from our past and people from our community at present who have dedicated their lives to empowering the Chamorro, the Guam community in a variety of ways, pushing for self-determination, pushing for sustainability, fighting for the rights of the Chamorro people, defending the land from things that might harm it. And so we are excited to be honoring Dr. Marilyn Salas, who I've had the privilege of working with in a lot of capacities over the years, like many people. And so I'm excited that we get to sort of talk about her recent role in terms of local agriculture and supporting local farmers. From there, we will move on to Hita Latmon, our educational discussion for the evening. We'll be talking about local food, reviving relationships to food, and we'll be joined by Michelle Crisostomo from Guåhan Sustainable Culture and Tano Lizama from Asiga Coffee Shop. And please, if you have any questions about any of the issues that are brought up tonight, we end every session with a discussion, open forum, question and answers. And so please message us or type into the comments your questions so we can get to them after all the presentations are done. And for those of you who are very good at calendaring things, keeping track of things, even though they're far into the future, all the way into 2022, it feels so far away. The next scheduled General Assembly for Independent Guåhan will be on January 27, 2022. It will most likely be on Facebook and online again. And so set your calendar, set whatever you use to remind you about things, because January 27, 2022 will be the next time that we gather together. All right. Sidzus Masi, Tatlu, para ifanatan medyo pago, Corona or Dr. Naputi, Hagu Pago.
Thanks for that, Miget. Hafade, Guahusi Tiara Naputi. I'm going to give a brief update that's actually about some of our swag before I get into some of the material for tonight. So we still have some fundraising t-shirts while supplies last. They're for $20. You can see some of the images for the designs of our of our t-shirts. All of the proceeds for these t-shirts go to support our activities at Independent Guåhan. They come in lots of different unisex sizes, and our artwork, of course, is by Ki Susuiko. So if you want to check out one of these t-shirts and message us to get yours hot off the presses, so to speak, that is available to you. And we wanted to do a little shout out for that while they're still going on. I know a lot of people are thinking about ways to support to different causes and different groups. And so we encourage you to think about that. But another thing about Independent Guåhan that I wanted to provide, there's a lot going on, and we so appreciate you being here with us, from our panelists to our Maga'taotao tonight. We know that there's many demands on your lives, and we just want to remind you all that this is one of the reasons why this work is so important, because Independent Guåhan is an organization that empowers the Chamorro people to reclaim our sovereignty as a nation, inspired by the strengths of our ancestors, and with love for future generations. We educate and unify all who call our island home to build a sustainable and prosperous independent future. And so it's part of sharing the gratitude for you joining us tonight in this General Assembly. We want to just also acknowledge that while we're not gathering in person, we continue to organize these General Assemblies to have community dialogue and conversations about the possibilities of independence for the island. We hope that you will also carry on these conversations, share the information when talking with friends, family, and your networks, to help us collectively address the variety of different ways that our island can flourish through independence. The beauty of all of this and these conversations is that through independence, it really is up to us. We get to decide what we want for our future. If you don't know about our website, you can check us out at independentguåhan.org. And of course, you can follow us on social media. If you have any questions about independence or want to be involved in our efforts to educate our community about these possibilities, please also be sure to contact us. So tonight I have the great pleasure of introducing our Maga'taotao, which is our honored guest, Dr. Marilyn Salas. So as Miget kind of mentioned, every General Assembly, we choose a Maga'taotao who is someone in the community that we would like to acknowledge because they are someone that inspires and teaches us, someone that we are fortunate to learn from and with. And this term Maga'taotao is actually something that was created by Sina Ed Beneventi. And so it's used to acknowledge someone that uplifts us, especially within our movement. There's so many people that are providing everyday lived examples of independence on how to sustain ourselves, and who are working really hard collectively towards sovereignty, towards decolonization for our island. These Maga'taotao are making a difference in our nonprofit organizations, in our communities, and the businesses, with our families. And so Independent Guåhan really feels that Dr. Marilyn Salas is one of those Maga'taotao among us. She uplifts our people in amazing ways and has previously served as the director of the Center for Chamorro Language and Culture at the University of Guam, and is a retired associate professor from the Micronesian Area Research Center. While at the university, she taught classes on education and culture in the School of Education, and was the chairperson for the advisory board of the Department of Chamorro Affairs and a board member for the Guam Preservation Trust. But her role as an educator for Guam's people still continues today in a slightly different form. She's a founding member of the Pacific Farmers Together Cooperative, PFTC, which is a women-driven cooperative that emphasizes and encourages natural farm systems, increasing the accessibility of nutritious local foods, and sharing knowledge and expertise on sustainable agriculture. The PFTC also aids local farmers in selling their produce at Metcalf in Hagåtña, so make sure you check that out next time you're in the area. And the PFTC is just one example that Dr. Salas provides inspiration for, as she continues this work of educating and empowering our island's community to realize that we can all create a more sustainable and food secure island. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share a little bit more about what I'm excited to say about Dr. Salas, and then allow her to speak and talk story a little bit herself. So coming from a family of farmers, her elders cultivated a lansu in PD before World War II. Their lands were situated where the Veterans Cemetery is now and extended out to the ocean side. And unfortunately, the US military annexed those lands. And so their family was moved to Hagåtña Heights on her mother's land. And that's where they maintained their practices of growing food and, of course, raising animals. She credits these experiences of being raised and fed on the land as instilling in her a love of and a respect for nature. So this love continues today with Dr. Salas and her family in Umatak village. They have an agroforestry farm that grows many varieties of coconuts, bananas, citrus trees, and other native crops. They help feed the family. And of course, when there's abundance, that allows them to also sell. So this farm is a site of growth and a place of learning. It's offering inspiration to others to be able to think about how to grow their own food. And it's also thinking about how to grow food in a culturally relevant way that is attuned to our unique tropical environment and landscape here in Guam. Despite the different directions and different environmentally and culturally unsustainable things that we've seen on the island, of course, there's also shifts to different kinds of foods, dependency on processed foods and other kinds of foods instead of indigenous foods as staples of the local diet. But Dr. Salas believes and practices different ways of reviving the island's food systems. And that includes energizing and jumpstarting our own palates and our own appetites to get back to those foods that have sustained our Chamorro culture for thousands of years. So from the stand in Hagåtña, if you're tracking, right, to the roots of her family's farm in Pidi and in Agana Heights, and where she's situated currently in Umatak, it's clear that she never gives up in the pursuit of sustainability and food security for our island. And this education assistance also extends to the Micronesian region, thinking about how Guåhan can learn a lot from looking at our island neighbors and the surrounding islands, learning about the different ways that they grow and propagate indigenous and local foods, and reintroducing and cooking traditional foods helps offer us another way of thinking about healthy options in our daily diets. These are things like breadfruit and taro, right? Things that we share with other islands that connect us. And this also helps us think about these traditions for ourselves here. So the future of farming and food security in Guåhan, Dr. Salas notes, is also the power of our backyard gardens, and where every family has the opportunity to grow staple crops and think about those for their family's own tables. We were so moved and so inspired and really thought that all the things that we read and learned and just know about you as a person, Dr. Salas, were so related to the topic that we want to address here tonight with our panelists. There's so much more that I could say. I've already said quite a bit, but I'll just encourage you all to check out her work. And if you have a chance, you can find some of her writing on Guampedia about ancient Chamorro food and diet. You can also look at the publications she's done on the Chamorro language for island children. Hafa and welcome, Dr. Salas. We so appreciate you being here. Please feel welcome to share anything that you would like with us now about your connections to the land, and specifically, about the work that you're doing to reclaim our indigenous past as a way to sustain our future for the island's agriculture and for our future generations.
Thank you, Dr. Tiara. It is so, I'm so humbled by this, and I want to thank everyone for thinking of me. It really isn't just a person. I work with farmers, and I work with people who are very down-to-earth local crafters. And so we are always at the Chamorro village right across from the Fishermen's Co-op. That's where we set up. And we have created an atmosphere of sharing and having conversations so that we continue to learn every day, knowledge about how to plant, knowledge about our ancestors and what they did to continue to be sustainable. And so I'm just so thankful for everything that has happened, even during COVID. COVID was such a challenge, but for us with farms, it was our food security. Access to food was there already. And so we continue to bring our foods down to the market and also to the stores. And it was a great way of helping out, but at the same time, still with our economic gains. So my hat's off to all the farmers of Guam. My hat's off also to the fishermen and the hunters, because we kept this island going. But Guam is Guåhan, and it means we have, as we have defined it. And if you look at everybody's yard, you will see avocado or alligator, right? Coconut trees, lemon trees, so papayas. So we're very resourceful in that way, and we're sustainable because we have these in our yard. But the question is, are we eating them, right? We have lemon tree, but are we eating those fruits and vegetables? Our ancestors, and in my research for the food and diet presentation in Guampedia, I was learning a lot because our food is also for health. And so like katigan, it's for escabeche, the one with the fish, the green vegetables, and it has a lot of nutritional value. But are we eating katigan? And you know, it's itchy to the hands, but once you boil that, it loses all any kind of toxins it may have. Things of that nature to know and to continue to use. Every time you eat a tapioca or mandioca, taro, it's healthy for the body, right? It's something that our ancestors grew up with, and their health was much better than ours. If you go to the Guam Preservation Trust, you'll find that those doors are so thin. Go upstairs, the second floor, and try to walk through it. Some of us will make it, and some of us have to turn sideways because our people were really thin. They were healthier than we are today. So I just want to thank all those who are continuing to promote sustainability. And I always say, did you get mud on your feet? Because it's not easy work to be a farmer or a hunter or a fisherman, but we need to try. If we say we're going to go the route of trying to be more independent and more resourceful, then let's do what we have to get there. And not only for our age group and for the generation after me and the next generation, but teach them so that they can be providers and we can have food access on this island. So that would be my contribution right now. And thank you again.
Sidzus Masi, thank you so much. Yes, we're so delighted to have you here. And we know that, as you were mentioning before, when we were running through the technology, that you're there at the farm, right? And just thinking about your own backyard and where those foods come from and what we're doing to interact with them. That's great.
You always learn something from your land, you know, even if it's your backyard. Learn about how water comes down to you, if it comes down to you. Learn about the crevices, the hills that are around your area, and use it as a resource to get more water, or, you know, or continue to be natural or organic farmers is what we are at the Chamorro Village.
Yeah, that's so important. Thank you again so much. Just thinking about those resources, the natural environment, what we can learn from them, and the connections that we have, right? And then that can also help us make those decisions about what we want to use to sustain ourselves. So, Sidzus Masi, that's great. We have so many more things that we can continue to talk about with this very important topic. We're going to go ahead and move now into our panel portion of the evening, which is featuring two different panelists. I'll go ahead and introduce them one at a time. And then again, we do have time for Q&A scheduled at the end. So for those of you who are tuning in now, please feel welcome to submit your comment to us so that we can put some of those to our panelists at the end. Our first panelist tonight, I'll go ahead and open with, is from Asiga Guam, which is a coffee and plant-based scoop shop that highlights Guåhan's seasonal fruits and vegetables, including plant-based ice cream, dairy-free cakes, vegan cookies, and internationally inspired coffee. So if you haven't eaten your dinner yet tonight, hopefully we're working up an appetite for everyone this evening, and you will be able to check out this spot at Asiga and even the stand at Chamorro Village very soon. Their shop over there also represents Guam history and culture, and features local art and collaborations with other local retailers and nonprofits that really keep our community going and thriving. So if you haven't peeped Asiga or haven't gone there in a while, or just want a reminder, it's behind Ocopelas. It's been called a salt of the earth sanctuary, which I think is a really great way to describe it. And tonight we're going to learn even more about Asiga from Tano Lizama, the manager of Asiga. Tano Lizama is a resident of Malolo who cares very deeply about Guåhan and its culture and its future, so much so that it's very difficult to find information about Tano himself. In fact, I asked him to send me a profile, a bio statement, and he didn't. So I tried to do a little bit of sleuthing around, but mostly Tano seems to be lifting up others, which I think is a wonderful quality. And some of the things that we'll hear from tonight have to do with one of the other operators behind the scenes of Asiga, which is Pulan Wanpat Lizama, aka Chef Pulan, as a special guest. One of these things that I might just say that I can describe is that these are the kinds of people that seem to be like the first to arrive on the scene and probably the last to leave, and are always helping out. Hard workers and teaching us and educating us their joy and their love of the island, the food, but also, of course, what we can do in our own kitchens and in our own spaces to help perpetuate our sustainable ways of life, right? And to help ourselves kind of imagine a world that's possible through food and through sustaining culture. So that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Tano. If you would like to say anything more about yourself, please feel welcome. And I hope that I've introduced Asiga appropriately. I can see you're there now.
Yes, that was a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. Buenas and Hapaday. My name is Tano Lizama. I was born and raised on Guam. I am the manager of Asiga with my partner, who's the owner, Ana Guampat Borja. We've been open for nearly 3 years. We opened in February 2019, and for the last year and a half or so, we've been operating in the middle of a pandemic, which is definitely had its challenges, but there's been some benefits to that as well. There's been a lot of things that we've been doing during the pandemic, which has really helped us grow as a family, as part of this community, and as a business as well. So my background, when it comes to like food security and everything like that, my grandfather was a farmer. My grandfather Vicente Lizama was a farmer in Radio Barrigada. He had 10 kids. That's how he supported his family, farming in Radio Barrigada. He, like Dr. Salas, some of his property was condemned by the Navy. Some of that property is still condemned, like where the golf course was. And so basically his property went from the Nimitz golf course to about the Trades Academy area. So big part of Radio Barrigada over there. So my grandpa died when long before I was born, when my dad was still young. My dad took over kind of farming to support his family until he was kind of old enough to join the military, where he went to Vietnam. When I was a kid, I would spend pretty much every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, with my dad at a ranch in Barrigada, just kind of getting hands-on experience, just raking leaves, pulling weeds, burning, planting, doing a lot of planting. And back then I didn't really think about the value of what we were doing or the benefits of it. I was just kind of happy to get out of the house. I was spending time with my dad. I was learning some things. But now I kind of really see the value, especially having my son, my family, because that same land that I grew up on is now providing us with things that we use for Asiga. So we try at Asiga, we're definitely trying to cook, not just cook local, but use as many local products as we can. During the beginning of the pandemic, when everybody was in lockdown, that was kind of like the kind of jumpstart we needed to kind of really start expanding our kind of small farm and garden that we had at Malolo. And we're blessed to have a beautiful area there. There were already some great citrus and mango and everything like that, and we added much more. So like now we probably have like maybe 7 different variety of bananas that we use for banana bread and for the ice cream here. Almost every kind of citrus you could think of: lemonchina, orange, calamansi, like the regular local lemon, maybe 3 or 4 different varieties of mangoes. We have lemai, so many things. And if we don't have it, or if we don't grow it, since the beginning, we've worked with so many different farmers in groups like Farm to Table and Triton Farm. They've been, incredible, just helping us, not just helping us supply us with things for the shop, but also just with knowledge, sharing the knowledge of what they have. We learned a lot from them. We've gotten, different sprouts and plants and advice. We even got some chickens from them as well. So it's been great working with those different groups. We've also got into beekeeping, which was kind of new. We've been doing that for like a little bit over a year now. We've had 3 harvests so far. We've had some great response with that. It's been great, but just the beekeeping community out here has been amazing. There's probably maybe more than 40 beekeepers on island now, and it's just incredible. It's a great community, but it's amazing the different types of honey that is available on island. Like you look at one type of honey from Jigo, it's completely different in color and flavor to one from Tamuning versus the one down in Malolo. And it's just great just trying to see if you can kind of identify maybe what the bees got into, what kind of flowers or fruits. We've also kind of noticed certain plants that maybe weren't bearing before, just all of a sudden we've got mangoes on a tree that never bore in like 10 years. And it's been pretty amazing. So I'm gonna take a break real quick, and I think I'm gonna have you play our first video. This is a video that we made in the beginning of the pandemic. We were locked down. We were just like didn't know what to do with ourselves. So we started making videos for like our Instagram and stuff. And a large part of that just centered on us taking our boy Pulan and going around the yard and harvesting what we had and cooking. We would make things for our family or for ourselves, everything from calamansi lemonade to sweet corn ice cream. So this is one of the videos we did. It was really fun doing it. If you're kind of wondering why everyone's still wearing masks, it's because we're trying to keep our social distance. So if you want to play that, Tara, thank you.
Okay.
For you, Pulan. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Got it?
I can share the next item as well. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, let me get that up. Sorry, I'm watching it without sharing it with you all. One moment. Share my screen here. We tested this all, and of course, just give me 1 second. I should be able to do it here. Just click it for it.
I'm not sure that played. I wasn't able to see it unless I missed something.
Sorry about that. Let's try again. See if I can share the next one while we're waiting. Is that okay? Let me see. All right, I think I can do it this way. Thank you all for your patience with me. You see a video now. Okay, try one more time. And you just let me know if you're ready for the next one, and I think I can.
That's good for now. So I mean, as you guys can see for the video, since my son was, since he could walk, we had him out there in the yard with us, and I was just trying to, really just teach him a lot of things that I learned growing up. But we also wanted to teach him the value of, not just the work that you put into the land, but what you get out of it as well. So it's great to just kind of see there's definitely been a resurgence we've noticed in sustainability and food security. There's a lot more people growing plants now. I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of the pandemic, you couldn't even find potting soil at Home Depot or anything. Everybody just started growing, and it's it's continuing, and it's great. We fully support that. We're doing kind of like the same thing, but as you guys all know, like, food security is very important on Guam. We get 80-90% of our food imported, and if there was ever something to happen, it would not be good, because there would be people scrambling to figure out what to eat. Like what Dr. Salas said, you drive around and everybody's got, most people's got a tree of something in their yard. If not, we have jungles full of coconuts and lemai and everything else. And that's one thing to plant something, to grow something, but you definitely have to eat it. And one of the things we were trying to do at Asiga is show how, what we were used to or what our grandparents ate can be made into something different. Like, they ate lemai all different ways back then, but like, I'm not sure they ever had lemai ice cream, which is delicious. We can't keep it in stock when we make it here. It's a lot of processing. It's not very easy, but bringing things like that to our people to show, the pride that we have in our island and new ideas and consuming the food that we have. It means a lot to us. We've done so many different things with what we have, like making like the lemon china cake, lemon china shortbread, mango sorbets, local watermelon sorbets, and even as often as we can, given it by the Chamorro names. You know, when you get the lemai ice cream or the alligator, you know, you don't come in here asking for avocado ice cream. You got alligator. So there's definitely a deep connection we have to the land, and we're definitely trying to foster that with our family as well. You know, it's so let me try. Sorry. Oops. So this is what Sarah's going to play now. This is one of the videos that we also made for Asiga's Instagram during the pandemic as well. We got some local corn from Mr. Wistig. Everybody knows him, and we kind of made some corn ice cream. So this is kind of like a lot of the videos that we did, but it's, you know, it's just seeing my boy do these things, you know, because a lot of when I was growing up and I was helping my dad at the ranch, we were growing a lot of things, but we weren't really cooking a lot of it as much as, you know, we are now. And so showing my son all these things, and he goes into the yard, he can identify all the different plants and stuff. It's you know, it's great, and it's something that, you know, I've noticed a lot more people are doing, and we love it. So go ahead, Tiara.
Thank you, Senor Wisik, for the sweet local corn. Thank you for Asiga. We're gonna roast this corn and make it into yummy ice cream. We're gonna put sweet corn honey and Asiga honey and butter. Hello, is this an ear? Half a day, everyone. We are going to make local corn ice cream. We are putting smoked honey from our friends and Asiga salt. That's local corn. We're going to blend our ingredients for the ice cream. So cheers! First we need to taste it. Now we're ready to pour the ice cream in. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Ta-da! Do you see it? No way. Pour. Whoa. Where's the cover? I thought we were going to put the salt in. Maybe not. Now we wait. It's good ice cream. Cashew, coconut milk. We blended all the ingredients together like I told you. Good job, Pauline. That's the one. You're not kidding me. It's good.
Okay. Are your questions after? Okay.
Yeah, we can do questions after a while. Thank you so much. I feel like that those videos were so striking. They really did give us an opportunity to get a sense of the land that you're working with and your family connections, and also just feel like we're experiencing all those foods and the care and the commitment that you put into it, not just for yourself, but for your family and for all of us on the island. And my mouth was watering thinking about all those things. So really, I hope our audience has probably also been excited and thinking about visiting Asiga Guam the next time they're in the Oka area. I can't wait to enjoy the next set of sweet and salty tastes that we'll get an opportunity to try because of all the different ways that you're putting things together for us. So thank you so much for that, Tano.
Thank you.
Yeah, so keep the questions coming in and comments. Sorry, we don't have any Asiga for our audience to try right now, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next panelists, and you can let those things marinate in the ideas that you might have for comments or questions, and you can put it into the chat for us, and we'll get to those afterwards. Our next guest is from Guåhan Sustainable Culture, and our last panelist tonight is Michelle Crisostomo, the co-founder and president of Guåhan Sustainable Culture. Michelle is also the owner of GU Hydro, a hydroponic system and supply company that serves the local community by providing customers the tools and the support that they need to start their own hydroponic gardens. So as a second generation and bona fide farmer, she also owns and operates Tiny Greens Guam, one of the leading producers of microgreens for so many of the island's major restaurants and hotels. She's on the board of directors of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce and is their treasurer and chair of the finance committee. Her passion for progressive growth and household food security for her family and our communities is also shown through the ways that she works in her daily life, and working with empowering women with the knowledge and skill sets to be self-reliant and to operate with their own sustainable farms was one of the things that really planted the seed for Guåhan's sustainable culture. Off a day and welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to hear more about Guåhan Sustainable Culture and the things that you're going to share with us tonight. And I will make sure to share my screen so that you can take it away.
Off a day, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. It's really an honor to be here, and I'm very excited to be talking to you all and sharing about my journey and about the organization. So if you could share the screen. I did want to start and trying to make this as interactive as possible. I wanted to start with posing a question, which is on the next slide, Tiara. So the question I wanted to hear from our audience, and maybe you can share it on, in the comments if you're watching on Facebook, is why grow your own food? And of course, there are many reasons that are obvious as to why you should grow your own food, but maybe you have some reasons that are personal to you, some reasons just based on your experience that make this question important. And so I wanted to put that out there and have you guys think about that throughout the talk, and then maybe we could share some of the responses that we get from the audience. So for me, myself, I didn't always want to grow up eating healthy or even growing my own food. I did grow up around local produce. I grew up here on Guam, and my dad was really involved in agriculture. He was with the University of Guam at the time. And when I was born, he had just finished up getting his master's in fisheries science. So we were actually around a lot of fish all the time. They used to tease that he was the fish guy. Our phone number at home was 734-FISH, and it was actually I felt a little embarrassed at the time when I was a kid. Of course, not now, but I used to follow him around when he would go to set up some of the very first aquaculture systems here on Guam, and just follow him around to feed the fish. But as a teenager, I was a typical teenager, so I didn't really pay so much attention to what my dad was doing or really know exactly what he was doing, and I was focused on typical teenage things, right? And it wasn't until I became an adult and had my own children that growing my own food, my overall health and well-being became very important, the health of my family. And so I moved back home about 7 years ago, and I started to grow my own garden as I was here. And that is when he asked me to help run his microgreen farm. And so it was the first microgreen farm here on Guam. It used to be called Village Microgreens. And he had to leave off island, and he really didn't have anyone to take care of it while he was gone. And so I wasn't even looking to learn how to do this, but I wanted to help him out, and I wanted to make him proud. And so he started training me how to do all of this. And then I took over. He went off island, and then I started doing that every time he would go off island, like every summer. And I started to really love it. I started to become very excited, just seeing things growing, being able to eat what I grew, being able to feed my family with the food that I had grown, and being able to sell it and make money. And then I would go to restaurants and I would see it on the menu. I would see it on dishes that I ordered, and I would get very excited, and just a really good feeling. And I started to think, could I actually do this for a living? Could I quit my job and just focus on doing something that I actually just love, right? And at the same time, I was having a difficult time with my full-time job. It wasn't very fulfilling to me. I was dealing with health issues that were actually affecting my mental health: anxiety, depression, hypertension, sleeping disorders. And so when I started to grow things, it really opened up a lot of doors. It opened up the door to healthier access to fresher food, and expanded my mind. It was a very healthy distraction, and my focus would switch to being in nature, getting outside. And so when things would feel really bad, I would actually just go outside and just start digging holes and planting things in it. And, when I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was a learning experience for me. And so ever since that day up until now, every day has been a learning experience. And these experiences, they bring so much joy, so much meaning to my life. I have this feeling of accomplishment and gratitude when I am growing things, growing food, just eating food that is from the land. And so I was just really passionate about sharing those experiences with other people. I thought, everyone should have this type of feeling, this experience, to know what it's like to do something that you love so much. And at the same time, I was a little intimidated too, not knowing where to go to learn more about farming. I mean, I had my dad, but I wasn't sure what was out there. I didn't know where to go. I thought, I'm going to have to enroll back in college and sign up for agriculture classes again, just to learn some things. But of course, I didn't have the time to commit to something like that, and or the money to do it, honestly. And so another thing was that I had moved back to Guam after living in California and Japan, where fresh produce was everywhere. There were farms everywhere. There was a lot of access to fresh food, a lot of markets where you could get fresh food. And, coming to Guam and just knowing that 90% of our food is imported here, those were the motivations for me to want to start an organization, or some activities focused around workshops out there. And I was already teaching high school students at the time. I was developing programs for an after-school program in high school, or elementary through high school. And then I was also developing personal and professional development trainings for the Guam Women's Chambers. So wanting to develop workshops that teach people how to grow their own food and food sustainability was very exciting for me. And so that is, it was at that point where the idea of forming the nonprofit Guåhan Sustainable Culture was formed. And so those are just some of my reasons why. And what I did, yes, the next slide, perfect. So what I did was I approached a friend, a good friend of mine, Marilyn Salas. She had a lot of experience in starting up nonprofits, running nonprofits, and she also came from a family of farmers. Her father used to be a farmer and used to supplement their income with the farming that he did. And so we got together and formed Guåhan Sustainable Culture. It'll be 3 years in January. And GSC was built with a mission to cultivate ideas and strategies of environmental sustainability within the local community. We do that through practical education, social engagement, and collaborative partnerships. We believe that environmental sustainability translates into the well-being of our island community. And next slide, please. And so our vision is really focused on food security and food sovereignty. We envision a Guåhan where our people strive towards food sovereignty, food security, where we are proficient in cultivating our own food, and where our land, air, and seas are sustained for future generations. And we started the organization focused on 3 main pillars. And so it's kind of been the organization's motto also, which is educate, cultivate, and nourish. And for the education, you know, we've done all types of workshops, teaching children, teaching the seniors, going to senior homes, going to schools. But we were looking at the gaps in education that surrounded pressing issues like sustainable agriculture, food security, education around produce, what types of produce is out there, how to grow these types of plants. And you know, we found that a lot of even the kids in school didn't know what some of the common vegetables and fruits were here, didn't know what they were called, maybe had never seen them or had never tasted them. So we started to write down all of these issues, and our idea was that we just wanted to be a conduit for information that we could put out there into the community. We started listing different workshops that people are saying they want to learn more about. We started listing down the experts in the community who can teach these workshops for us. So we've done workshops like beekeeping, growing microgreens, planting seeds, harvesting, sheet mulching, raising chickens, pickling and preserving your food, aquaponics, hydroponics. We recently did a project on public foraging, and we take surveys at these workshops to see what people want to know more of. And when a lot of people say they want to learn about a certain topic, you know, we try to go out there and find somebody who can teach that for us. And with all of that, you know, let's bring awareness and inspiration around the topic of food sovereignty and our rights to food, which is affordable, healthy, and culturally appropriate. So we wanted to talk with the farmers, get them to share their stories, you know, bring them in, bring a group, bring an audience, and give them a space where they can share their agricultural knowledge, their skills, and pass those down to younger generations. So with all of this, you know, we wanted to put an emphasis on the types of food production that protects our natural resources, avoids methods that would damage our environment and the health of our people. And moving on to cultivate, of course, we want people to start learning how to cultivate their own food, start their own small-scale gardens, and possibly bring some income in from the extra produce that they might be able to sell. We also cultivated 2 community gardens here on Guam. One at the Sagan Cultura in Chamorro in the Cultural Center in Tumon, and the other one is in Hagåtña, across from the post office. And those serve as demonstration sites. We bring people in and do educational workshops there and kind of show them different methods of growing. We have raised beds, we're planting in the ground, we're raising chickens at SKC. And so there's different things going around that people can look at. And then cultivation also deals with our relationships with our community and with like-minded organizations. And so we haven't been able to do so much if it weren't for the organizations that we've partnered with in the past. You know, we can accomplish so much more if we get together, if like-minded organizations that are out there get together, we can do a lot more. And so we try to really foster relationships in the community with other groups out there. And for the nourishing, the 3rd pillar, we really wanted to address the health crisis here on Guam, the diabetes, the heart disease, by doing outreach that teaches about the benefits of eating fresh local food, how to eat it, how to prepare it, what is the nutritional value of certain products. And so we've worked on a produce guide, and we have outreach quite often, especially at our G3 garden, where we try to do that. We have a Healthy Futures Challenge coming up in January that I'm really excited about, that will help people start eating healthier and growing their own food. But nourishing also, we wanted to provide accessibility to local produce. So we started an online store called Farm Fresh Produce. And so it's one of the first online stores where you can order fresh produce from the local farmers here on Guam. And this provides an avenue not only to support the ones who cultivate our food, our farmers, but to also make produce more accessible, and also to to families who maybe can't afford it. So from that extra produce, we're able to donate. And so we make a donation of local produce every week into the community, to families, to Catholic Social Services, to Oasis Empowerment Center, a lot of different groups every week. So I don't know, I don't know if you want to go back, Tiara, to maybe some of the responses as to why food is important, if anyone had anything to share, or I can just move on to the next slide.
Maybe I'll move on to the next slide, and that'll give me a chance to look at some of the responses. How about that?
Okay, sure. So the next one is the video of our community garden in Hagåtña that I just wanted to share. If you haven't been there or passed by the post office in Hagåtña, it's right there. Our members are there Monday through Friday in the afternoon, but it's open. You can always stop by, get a little inspiration if you just need to de-stress and walk around. It's really beautiful. There's a lot of vegetables. There's long beans, there's eggplants, there's pepper, there's okra. There's a lot of marigold and sunflower growing. We have some squash. We've had cucumber growing in the past, and corn as well. So you can go ahead and play that video, and I'll talk a little bit more about our other projects. For that. Sorry, it was just a little bit choppy on the video, but that's our garden. We have activities every week. We also are having an event coming up at the garden December 4th, where we'll have children's activities, teaching them how to plant in recycled containers. And then we'll also be selling some local products made from local producers here on Guam as really unique gift ideas for Christmas. So that's December 4th at the garden from 1 to 4. So you're welcome to stop by and bring your family. Okay, so some of the other projects that I wanted to share with everyone. So the Ginini-Gualo project is our Histories of Farming and Agriculture on Guåhan. So this project's aim, it was a public humanities project to provide the island community of the knowledge of past and current agricultural practices. So there's archival research on the website. If you go to our website, gusustainable.org, you can find the Ginini-Gualo tab. And, you know, we did a lot of archival research that focuses on the changes to the farming and agriculture that have occurred throughout pivotal stages in Guåhan's history, and gives you kind of an understanding of where we came from. Kind of, I mean, we have to know where we came from in order to plan for the future. And so that was part of it. The other part of the project was the stories and the videos that we were able to get from about 12 local farmers, including Dr. Salas that's here on the Zoom. And so the idea was to preserve and share stories of our island's local farmers and encourage profound connections to the land and to the island. And so we will continue just to build upon this project, but I do encourage you to check it out. A lot of the stories are really inspirational, and they're also on our YouTube channel. And then the other one is a foraging. So we just did a public foraging project, which the video is also on our YouTube channel. And this one focuses on culturally significant plants that can be foraged, which means, you know, gathered from the wild or from public parks and eaten around the island. So the project's aim is to reconnect people with how food works, get them away from the notion that food is only found in a grocery store, because it's not. There's thousands of lemon trees, mango trees, there's papaya. And so we do focus on three, we focus on lemon, papaya, and coconut in this video. But there's so much more. And it's just to, inspire people to get out there, give them some ideas as to where they could go to start picking food for free in public places. And then hopefully inspire people to deliberately create food forests in the future. So that was one of the projects that's on our YouTube channel. And the next slide. We also have here at our office, I'm at the Chamorro Village, we have an office here, and we have started a seed library. And so the idea is that we will share our excess seeds. People come and they give us seeds, then they get new seeds, and it doesn't cost anybody anything. You're able to save money, you're able to get seeds for your garden, to diversify your garden, and it's all, to share the love of planting food. So that's here, that's always open. You just kind of have to, you have to call us and make an appointment, but we have so many different types of seeds that we've collected from different farmers, or that we've grown ourselves, and people have donated as well. So we have the seed library, the poultry development project. This one we launched about 3 months ago. And we identified 20 people that wanted to become chicken farmers. And so we hosted trainings. We had the Department of Ag come in. We had Dr. Poole, the Guam veterinarian, come in, and we hosted trainings to teach these people how to raise chickens. We provided them all with a flock of 20 chickens, the feed for the first 6 months, all of the supplies they needed to raise the chickens as babies. And in return, they're going to be able to sell those eggs back to the community, back to us. And some of them are also going to start an incubation program. So they're going to be hatching egg layers also, and then, have that continue so that we don't have to ship these chickens in, fly them in. We can start hatching them here on Guam and have them for sale here. So that's the idea of the project. And we're really excited because their chickens will start laying pretty soon. So that's something to look forward to. The next slide, please. Our Farm Fresh online store is at gusustainable.org/farmfresh. We do drive-through pickups. You order online. You can pay with PayPal, credit card, or cash when you come. And we source all of the produce from the local farmers here on Guam. So you can go there. You can order your bitter melon, your dragon fruit, whatever, almost every type of local produce that is grown here. Or you can do a bag of whatever's in season, which I really suggest, because you do get your money's worth, and it's very affordable if you're buying in season. And so we encourage people to eat what is in season. It's not expensive to do that. The bag is $25. It comes with so much different produce. So that's our online store. We also sell value-added products, but the value-added products that we focus on, like the honey, the soap, Denancy, is all, we focus on products that actually source their ingredients from Guam. And so that's what you'll see on our online store. And then our Supporting Farmers, Sustaining Families program is the additional produce that we get, or the donations we get from the community. We purchase the local produce that helps to support the local farmers. And we donate that to families who are in need to help with their food security. So those are pretty much all the programs, the major programs. And we do have a summer school and after school program that we will be starting once our grant funding does come in. So we will be doing an after school program with some GDOE students, and a summer school program in the very near future. And the Healthy Futures Challenge that I did mention, it's going to start in January. It's a 3-month commitment to a workshop series that teaches the various aspects of growing your own food to help increase your food security, which we will be measuring after the program. So we actually will be measuring how much did you increase in your food security. We invite you to sign up for that workshop in January. You can just get a hold of our organization here at the Chamorro Village if you're interested. So next slide. So I just wanted to leave you with this thought, and my motivation for everything too is, my family and my children. And I always remember this saying, I don't know who said it, but it's always been in my mind that if you teach a child to grow his own food, you will feed him for life. And so I'm so thankful that my dad taught me these things, and I teach them to my children. And even if they're not as interested right now, it's something that they're going to remember in the back of their head. And like me growing up, it wasn't interesting to me as a teenager, but now that I'm older, it was always there with me. And so I just wanted to leave you with that thought. And that concludes my presentation. So Sidus Maasi, thank you for allowing me to share that.
Viva, that was so great. Thank you so much, Michelle. We really brought in a lot of different themes that we've heard throughout the evening, just thinking together about the different projects, the different ways that the organization Guåhan Sustainable Culture is educating, is getting different things off the ground in the future, but also the work that you're doing just to help us all see these different possibilities. So thank you so much, Sidus Maasi. We are just overflowing with abundance of comments and support of everything that all our panelists are doing, that our Maga'taotao has been cultivating. And so I think that's really great. I'm just beaming over here with all the things of that have been growing, so to speak, and the food for thought that you've given us. So we're going to use this to switch gears into a little bit of a Q&A. There weren't a ton of direct responses to your question that you posed to us, Michelle, but maybe people are still letting it marinate. So that question about what brings us to food, I think, is a really important one for us all to think about, because as you all mentioned, just even the issue of where food comes from and how it gets transported here, right? The unique situation, both of that abundance of what can be grown in your backyard or, down the road or right, on the land that you pass through every day, but also the ways that we orient to food and whether or not we're eating those foods, right? So I think that's really great. We have some questions. So maybe what I'll do is I'll give us a chance to think about them. One of the first questions, and we might not be able to get to all of them, but I just want to also reiterate, thank you to the audience for giving the love in the Zoom and the Facebook room to our panelists. There's a lot of questions about ice cream, but I'm going to go ahead and start off with a question that it was posed in the chat about how we might be able to participate in local culture. And I'm going to kind of combine a couple of questions, because several people asked the question of, it seems like for people that really want to go for it, right? Just grow your own food, and maybe they'd be passionate about it. They now know about, if they didn't already, these different ways to get seeds from Guåhan Sustainable Culture, or places to go to get some of those delicious local foods. But many people don't necessarily feel like they have access, to land to grow, or, living in an apartment complex or a smaller space. Maybe not having the opportunities like we saw with Chef Poulan to just drive around Malolo. So what are some of the things that you might say to any of our panelists or guests tonight? Maybe one thing that you might suggest to someone who wants to go for it, but doesn't necessarily feel like they have a lot of space. And this could be something that anyone can answer, but just maybe a practical kind of question first.
I can say, because I actually forgot to mention this after the showing of our video, that community garden in Hagåtña is all built on a concrete slab. It's a very small space, and if you go there, you can see like how much food can actually be grown in that really, really tiny, almost like 40 square foot or less space, and it's all in raised beds. And so if you lack access to land, or the quality of your soil in your backyard is not good, there are other ways. And so that's kind of what we show people who do stop by is what you could do in raised beds. We do teach other types of growing in some of the previous workshops that we've done in the past, like the microgreens, for example, how to do that in your kitchen, or just, by your windowsill, and start small. So I would suggest, if you wanted to do that, maybe stopping by the garden and getting some tips or just inspiration on how to do that.
That's right. And that's another plug, since I did write down that you mentioned that this Saturday, December 4th, there's an event that's also going to be children and kid friendly and focused on how to grow food at that community garden in Hagåtña across the post office from 1 to 4 p.m. So just another little reminder. Okay, Tano, I saw you unmuted. Go for
Yeah,
it.
if I can kind of maybe chip in on that one too. I know there are some people that maybe say that, you know, maybe they don't have a land or a front yard or apartment like that. But I mean, I would do something similar to what like Guåhan Sustainable is doing, you know, a community garden, get involved with maybe one of the schools and start a garden at the school as well. I'm sure you might know somebody that maybe does have a yard that you can work with. There's even growing indoors as well. I know we were doing for a little bit, we had a small NFT system. It was like a 3-foot wide shelf. We got the rain gutters from Home Depot. A lot of people are kind of familiar with that, but we were growing like herbs and lettuce indoors in our house. So I know there's, you know, some people that think that there's still a lot of untouched land on island, and, you know, work with the schools, start something in a community, maybe talk to the mayors in your village about doing a community garden. Another thing would be to go to Chamorro Land Trust, apply for farmland. The more people that apply and maybe put pressure on them, they're sitting on hundreds of acres of land. Like I'd applied for farmland as well, and you know, we've been on the list for years. And you know, if they start taking it serious that there are farmers that want this land and that are going to start growing on it, maybe they'll start giving it out, because yeah, Chamorro Land Trust land that's supposed to go to farmers, and so much of it is just not moving right now. So that's one avenue as well I'd suggest.
Great, thank you for that. You know, and I think that's another thing that kind of connects with several of the themes that we had tonight. All of you all have, in some way or another, are literally, you know, working with children, or have the passion for educating children. And I think that's another piece that can really tie in with one of the comments that was made, and a question that was raised, is thinking about those futures, those future generations, understanding our past, and then being able to connect that so that we have these opportunities in the future. And, you know, land being one of them, that definitely relates to that issue of food security and sovereignty. And one of the questions that was raised was more specifically thinking about how both of those things, both food security and sovereignty, are key parts of self-determination. And so one of the questions was, how do we think you all as panelists feel like those issues might connect, you know, to what you're doing? And I know some of you have maybe answered this in different ways, but if you had one more kind of thought for this bigger question about why food security or food sovereignty really matters when it comes to self-determination, what would you say? And I was like, I don't know if Tano, were you trying to say you're muted? If not.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
So food security and sovereignty are key issues for self-determination. So the question was, you know, even just thinking about those two issues of either food security or food sovereignty, what are your thoughts as panelists about why they matter for our islands? Thinking about self-determination.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to continue living on this island, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to support ourselves on this island. I mean, we have water, we have fresh water here, but we have clean air, we have land, but we're also going to need food. So food is definitely an important part, growing that food here for us. But another thing too that is, you know, I'm really passionate about, that I always think about a lot, is we need to go back to like trading. Like you know, back before, we would trade with our northern islands. I think that's just something that's just overlooked, I think, because they have cattle in Tinian, they have farms and a slaughterhouse in Luta and Saipan. And we have things that, you know, we can trade with them. I think, you know, bringing back that connection to our northern islands, trading with them, and maybe even trading past the northern islands, you know, that's something I think about a lot, and that I think is important to our self-determination as well.
I like to say something. We can't depend on imported foods completely, totally. And we are a resourceful island. We have lots of things on this island and fresh water. So Tano is right on target with what we need to do. And it's really about having a resourceful island and then doing it, getting out there and farming it. That's important. The other one is the connection to the entire Micronesia. I've been one who's gone all over Micronesia, and you can get lemons and tangerines in Kushrai. You can get bananas in Pohnpei. You can get from our Mariana Islands, they have pigs and beef. And further up, you have eggs, bird eggs, goats. And so, you know, if we had some system that could be encouraged, and this is from leadership, I think our whole Micronesia has a way to provide for our region. So there's so much more to do and to revive with our farming. In those early times, they were already exporting breadfruit, exporting bananas. And that was, you know, before, right after the war. So can we do it again? You know, so what the things that tie us are going to be the policies that, you know, form the restrictions on us. So we need to go back and study what has been done and how we can reopen and revive these things.
Thank you for that. That's super helpful to think about, right? That again, that the resources were right here, you know, maybe literally at our feet and right around the islands. And so that's a really helpful way to think about the choice, right? The possibility of self-determination means being able to choose for ourselves what it would look like in a world of an independent Guåhan, meaning choosing the kinds of policies that we want to create for trade and for those other kinds of things that, of course, existed before. So much abundance, right? I think that's another reason why we're getting so much love in the chats about these projects, about how amazed everyone is about the different ways that you all are really showcasing and living out and taking these actions in your everyday lives and helping us think about those too as possibilities at our fingertips and possibilities that we probably already really relate to anyway, right? It's from our ancestors in so many different ways, and so many of your stories have shared that, right? So I think this helps segue into another question, and feel welcome to again chime in for any of you. One of the questions is, what is one way that cultural values inform your farming or agriculture? And the question is, how might the entire island be able to think about then being able to work together to address these issues of food? But first and foremost, maybe cultural values that you feel like inform your farming or agriculture. Dr. Salas, you're unmuted. Would you like to say something about that?
Cultural values and agriculture. You know, there are things we do that are Pacific ways or Chamorro ways that may not be done in other places. And there's a lot we can learn also from our Micronesian brothers and sisters. My husband is Chukis. And so the things that we do, we can share farmer knowledge across. So one of them was, I had a Ulithian friend helping me in my farm, and I saw how she was planting taro. And I noticed that she put the leaves under the dirt, the outer leaves. And I said, what did you do that for? You know, so they have certain secrets. Another one is putting a rock in the hole that you dig, putting a rock in there. That's another one of the knowledges they know. And I think it's about the warmth of the soil that will help the plants grow. So those are like cultural things that we can share. The use of the sun and the wind and the rain in our planting. The use of our seasons, right? There's different seasons and different plants grow in those seasons. So it's taking that. And then also, I like to look at the wisdom that's recorded and written. If you go to Micronesian Area Research Center, you will find the wisdom of farmers and how they explain what they do and the blessings. So I appreciate all that. And I'm always going back to to the Manamkut farmers. I'm Manamkut, but more Manamkut than me, to study how they do things and how they make it even easier. So seasons that we use, and the use of the wind, the rain, the way it's planted, the connection to the ocean. So the ocean and the land, they work together. So you know when the breadfruit is blossoming, then the octopus are ready to be caught, you know, things of that. So, you know, it's this whole circular approach to looking at farm, fishing, and hunting.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if I can continue what Dr. Salas was saying, there's a big connection between sustainability and our culture, right? Like Inafa Maulik, that's a big thing on our island, right? Sharing for the stuff for the benefit of the community. Even just putty, like you don't have to be, not everybody has to be a farmer, right? We have hunters, we have fishermen, we have our farmers, and they all kind of, share with each other. Like, so when there's like, maybe when the Minyaha comes in or one of the Tulay or something, when they get a big catch, they share with the village or with their friends and family. Same with if a farmer has like a big, a large harvest or something, he shares it with that. So all of those are, the sharing, and everybody kind of maybe specializing in one thing, but when you have excess, trading with your friends and family, and the whole putty and Inafa Maulik, that's all part of our culture, and that's continuing now too. I still see it, and it's growing with the amount of younger people who are getting into farming and hunting and fishing, and it's continuing, and it's great to see. And I just learned something new today from Dr. Salas, that when I see the lemai sprouting, I'm gonna go check the reef.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And Michelle, there's a question that's very specific to GSC. So if you wanted to chime in on this question about culture, feel welcome. But the other question that the viewers are just eager to know about is whether or not it's true that you all sell lemai chips.
Oh, yes. Hold on. Let me grab them.
Oh, wow. Okay. It will be a visual representation now.
We do have lemon chips on our online store. And so you can order them. Right now, there's not a lot of lemai in season. So it's been a little hard to come by. So I'm not sure how long these will last for Christmas. I know that they're saying the lemai is going to be coming in maybe more so after Christmas. So we do have a limited stock here. We'll be selling them on Saturday though. Yeah, but to the just to respond to the question about the culture, and I do agree with Tano and Dr. Salas that going back to this barter system, I think is really an opportunity. So lately we've I've been bartering some of the things that I grow, and just bartering or just sharing with my neighbors, and then we've had some customers who we actually purchase local eggs from, now just barter for vegetables. And so we've been actually doing that with our organization. And so it's, it's something that we can possibly really explore and go back to. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's some other good, so many good questions on here, and these are great ways for us to think about, that just again, going into this evening was thinking about local food and reviving our relationships to food. And really these examples that we have are just the ways that we can see these things coming to life. And also some of the ways that we can think about continuing that education, right? How do we learn when different generations might be not as connected, or maybe feeling like they don't have as much access? And then what I'm hearing from all these different responses is the desire for a lot of people to get involved and to know how to get involved, and then even to think differently, to think more creatively in some ways, right? So some other logistical questions that came up in the chat and from the audience members. One question was about GDOE, whether or not they offer any local focused courses or programs for students in particular that want to learn about sustainable agriculture. And I think, Michelle, you had an answer for this.
Yeah, so there's no courses in GDOE that I am aware of that specifically touch on agriculture, but they have invited us as guest speakers and other organizations like Farm to Table to come and talk to the students. Some of the schools have community gardens right now, but I did mention actually that we will be starting. We did receive a youth education empowerment grant from the governor's office that will allow us to start a after-school program with GDOE. So some of the students in GDOE, once the funding comes through, we're going to start developing that program so we can start teaching them, you know, a lot about what we do, and also a summer school program for GDOE students. So so that is coming very soon. So we can look forward to that.
Great, thank you for giving us those examples. And another question that came up, I think, and you know, of course, we encourage our audience members to follow up, check out the websites that we mentioned, and also just follow the work of these different groups, because there's a lot of resources out there, and sometimes it can just be useful to see what folks have curated for you, because there can be a lot of information in trying to find the right information when you're starting out or something like that. So we have time for maybe about one more comment or you know, to address something because we've got a lot, and we know our panelists have taken time out of their busy work. You've heard about all their projects and everything that they have going on, and this is their work day as well. So one of the last things I kind of wanted to focus on is just what we've heard from a couple of different people wondering a little bit more about the situation for farmers these days. So whether you call yourself a bona fide farmer like Michelle, you did in your bio, or if you have other orientations to thinking about farming, the question is kind of about what are some of the challenges, but also the possibilities of being able to sustain and grow your own food. So for those in the room today, you know, just kind of thinking that encouragement, hopefully, maybe it seems like a way that you could give us your parting thought about why it pays to be a farmer in a variety of senses of the word. I combined a lot of things at once, I just realized. It's love for farmers. Why are there so few farmers, but also how do we be awesome farmers like you all? What's your parting shot for us about why we need to do this work and help our future for the island?
I mean, if you're going to be a full-time farmer, no lie, farming is hard. You know, you're out there before the sun comes up, you're out there when the sun's going down, if you're a full-time farmer. I mean, I've seen that myself, and you know, it's not a glamorous job. It's not an easy job, but it's a very rewarding and fulfilling job, especially if you're doing something for your family or your community. And it's definitely important for the island going forward, you know, if we want to see where we want to take this island and how we're going to take, you know, our island there. I definitely see a lot of changing perspectives and ideas on farmers, because it's not, you know, you're not like the farmer that's just out there all day. There's technology that's making things a lot easier. And there are people that are realizing that, you know, the food that we put in our bodies, in our families' bodies, it's, you know, it's important to know where that comes from and what's in it. So I do have a lot of friends that are in my generation that are, you know, definitely concerned about the food, where it's coming from, and how we can have that on Guam and not be importing so much. And it's been such an interesting, like, at least in my life, because, you know, I had my grandpa who didn't go to school. He was a farmer, born a farmer, died a farmer. My dad kind of grew up farming, and then he went to school, worked really hard so I can go to college. I go to college, get a degree, and then I am out in the yard farming. So it's kind of this circle that's kind of happened, but only because I've kind of realized, like, you know, what I do take the food that I put in my body and my family's body. You know, it's important to me to know where that's coming from, and it's very fulfilling to know that, you know, it came from our yard, it came from our hands. It was something that we planted, or even the food that we use here in Asiga, everything from like the laguna to the calamansi tea that you order, you know, I can tell you exactly where that comes from. I might even be able to tell you what tree I picked it from. So, you know, it is the hard work sometimes, but it definitely has its benefits, man. And with technology now and with our community, things are definitely getting a little bit easier too. So I just encourage everyone, continue supporting groups like Guåhan Sustainable, Farm to Table, and come out to their workshops, learn as much as you can. Come to Asiga, buy our coffee and ice cream. I'll be happy to tell you, anything you need to know if you have any questions, and support the other groups like Department of Agriculture. They're doing a great job right now selling sprouts, and with all the hunting derbies that they're doing, the plants that they have in the nursery. I just want to give a shout out to the Department of Agriculture. I love going there. I love everyone that works there, and I really like where we're headed. And, just to end this real quick, just thank you again to everybody that was here. So appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you too for all that we are doing on this island. I see the generation of the 30s to the 50s moving on agriculture, doing something about it. And it really looks good and fulfilling to see that. But I just wanted to hit 3 points. One is, what is our reason for farming? And it used to be survival, and for some on this island today, it is survival, right? Food security. I have seen that I go into the garden with my friend from Micronesia, and the meaning came that, here I was doing it for recreation, doing it for exercise, doing it for good health. She was doing it for survival. So there's, different reasons for it. There's also diversity on this island that will never go away. We have people from Asia, people from Micronesia, and we should be able to share knowledge across those areas, across those groups, to do better farms on Guam. There's also new technology and the use of that to make our farms even stronger. And the final one is health and nutrition, and how important it is that we're eating the right foods that's good for our island diet, right? If we're concerned about diabetes and high blood and cancer, but what kind of foods are we growing that might help suspend those illnesses, right? So think about that again, is health and nutrition and putting the right foods in the ground, planting the right things into the ground that will get us away from our common diseases in our Chamorro blood, but also in our Micronesian bloodline of diabetes, high blood, cancer, stress is one other thing. And what can we plant? So that's what I leave you with. And I really thank you for all that you are doing to support farming, agriculture, and also agriculture on land and agriculture in the ocean.
Yeah, thank you for that. That really reminds me too, and Michelle will give you an opportunity to chime in here. It reminds me of something that you said in your presentation, just about the health that came to you personally. And I appreciate you sharing that, the being out on the land, being outside planting, and some of those, not only planting the seeds for Guåhan sustainable culture as an idea in your mind, but also physically being able to plant something that could be helpful for your own personal health, but also for thinking about how we can educate others to help to get healthy, and to also think about what others have said about how that can contribute to getting healthy and getting free, right? So
yeah, it was very life-changing. And I guess I just wanted to leave with this thought, it's not everyone has to grow their own food. Maybe they don't want to, maybe they don't have the time, but you can still support local food, support the local food systems here on Guam. And so that's one way you can do it. If you just don't find that you have the time, or for whatever reason, to grow your own food, there's, just shop at the farmers markets more often. I know Dr. Salas is set up at the Chamorro Village with the fresh produce. I believe certain days out of the week, the PFTC group. And so you can buy your produce there. You can purchase it online and conveniently just drive through and pick it up. And so the more you support the local farmers and local producers, that's only going to help get us to a better place with our food security. So there are other ways too.
Yeah, well, Sidus Masi, thank you all again to all of our panelists, all of you who have tuned in and given us your comments, your excitement, and also your wisdom and your knowledge, and also just helping us think and learn through ways that we can all come together and work towards addressing these different issues and seeing the abundance, right? What we already have, what we have here in Guåhan already providing for us, and the different ways that we can continue to move forward with the issues of food security, food sustainability, and self-determination for Guåhan. So, Sidus Masi, that concludes our panel for tonight, and we hope you will join us again at a future GA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just.